students, welcome to a new class of your Unit 1 revisions. We have already discussed all the topics of Unit 1 and here we are revising the topics those we have already discussed. In the last revision class, I have told you regarding what is software, what are the software components, where the use of software components are there, and what are the software engineering principles, and how the software engineering principles are important for software development. And in order to make effective use of software engineering techniques, what skills the software engineer should have. Got it? And today we'll discuss about when you are having a software product in hand to develop, then what you have to do. Please watch the video carefully because it is going to be helpful for you a lot in software development. What are the software development activities? We'll discuss here. The software development activities are contained in a topic that is called a software development life cycle. As a human life cycle is there from its inception to death, different stages are being covered. Similarly, for software development also, certain development phases are being covered. And what are the phases being covered, we'll discuss here. It is called as your software development life cycle. It is the series of activities performed while a software product is in hand. And when the software product is being executed, what are the executable criteria? What are the executable elements? What are the methods used? And which type of information to be processed? And how the information to be processed? Everything is identified. And when the product development process is carried out, how it will be effective, how it will be result oriented, how it will be qualitative, and the product will be submitted on time for the customer's needs to be satisfied at a right moment, and it should be within a right cost investment. It should not require large number of costs so that the developer and the user will be both in a hectic situation, how to use the system, how to get result out of it. If we have to invest lot many in a product's development, what type of benefit we will get, what will be its profit, that will be in a dilemmatic situation. So your product should be developed within investing and investing a proper set of cost measures. It should be within the budget of the developer and that the customer can afford. It is the major requirement of developing a product. When the product development process starts, the need of the developer to keep in view these things. And if this type of results are required, then we have to carry on the software development activities in a proper manner. Got it? The software development process performed in a proper method is carried out in 6 different stages. All the stages are sequential in nature. In some cases, the stages are being recurred in some cases. The stages become recycled in some cases as per the product's requirement. And the software development life cycle is having these 6 stages of executions. What are the requirement of all these stages? Let us have a view on that. At first, we are doing preliminary investigation action. When we are doing preliminary investigation, we can view on an example. We have already discussed about this example. Suppose we have a bridge to build for us, then we have a requirement of collecting all the needs for the bridge. For developing a bridge, what are the general requirements? We are collecting the beginning. That is preliminary investigation. Then we are deciding whether the bridge can be developed by the developer. If it is going to satisfy the needs of the developer as well as can be properly implemented, then the bridge development process will be started by the builder. Correct? That is similarly in case of your software development life cycle for developing a software product. Correct? When the work in hand is there, then we'll start the development process. The first development process is the software requirement analysis and specification in case of software development. Similarly, for constructing a bridge, we are deciding the site, the right site for the bridge, what will be the size of the bridge, and what will be the general outline for preparing the bridge. How it will be helpful, and it will be covered in the proper location, and it will go satisfy the two ends needs properly. But if it is identified properly after proper analysis, then the development process will be successful. If without deciding the site, without deciding what will be the size of it, without deciding what will be the requirements for it, we cannot think about reaching at a proper bridge that is going to communicate two different ends. It should be strong enough to be used. It should be properly planned. It should not hamper other communication to be occurred in the road or in railway lines, anywhere it can be. If it is analyzed and decided properly, then it can be successfully implemented. So then we'll come for the designing after the requirements are properly identified and specified. By looking at the information present in the specification document, we'll start the software design process in case of softwares. Similarly, after the analyzed information, the designing process for the bridge will start, in which the configuration will be determined, the size of the cables, beams, developing the blueprint for the bridge will be prepared. Got it? These are the design requirements for the bridge. When the design requirements are there, then the real construction can start. After preparing the designing, we can go for coding. In coding, we'll really develop the systems. Those are to be automatized, and those will be coded using different programming languages. And when the coding is over, it will go for testing. In case of software development, the software designing leads to software coding part. In case of bridge construction, the software, the bridge design leads to your real work process of the bridge starts. The actual building process starts where the builders, the workers, everybody are engaged in implementing the real thoughts, those we have already identified for the bridge. Or after the coding is over, we'll check it whether it is working properly or not. It is going to satisfy the needs properly or not. The testing will lead to the checking process that is required, whether the bridge is going to satisfy the needs of different trucks, different bus, cycles, different people. If too much people will stand on the bridge, can it accommodate or not? All these things will be checked. For checking, we'll perform specify load, pressure, endurance, and robustness of the bridge. We'll check whether the bridge is going to carry all those loads or not. If it is unable to carry all those loads, then it may break at some moment. If it will not accommodate too much trucks with heavy load are passing through the bridge, then the bridge will have breaks, different breaks on it, cracks on it, then it will be collapsed at some time. So in order to overcome such type of problems, we have to check before being used really by the customers or the users of the bridge. When the bridge is not properly checked, how it is going to follow the load, how it is going to accommodate the pressure, how it is being robust or not, it can accommodate the pressure or not according to the heavy loads to be followed. If it is not satisfying, then we have to make changes on the previous construction process. If the testing provides a proper information that what we have already constructed is okay and can be implemented very well, then only it will be passed for identifying the maintenance measures and it can be submitted to the customer. Got it? In case of software development process, your software testing leads to software maintenance. In maintenance, the customer will be trained how to use the system. The customer will be mentioned what are the maintenance measures, what are the future scopes, what can be the future implementation for the system, whether it can be modified in the future or not. All these things can be identified. If in case of the bridge construction, if it requires the maintenance of it, then it may require the specification of repainting needs, repairing needs, and making other repairs if any required. If any necessary changes are need to be made on the bridge, then all these things should be accommodated. Got it? In case of software maintenance also, it is very important. In the as in the same manner, it requires the maintenance to be maintained for the bridge construction purpose. Got it? Then come to the real requirement of the investigations done at the phase 1. And in case of software development process, how the investigation is carried out. Let us have a review on the topic again. When the informations are to be collected from the customers in deep manner, then we have to perform a real and more sophisticated communication between the customer in order to know the real system's needs. When the system is not perfectly identified what are its requirements are, what need to be really gained in the format of output, then we cannot construct a proper software according to the customer's requirements. In preliminary investigation, we are collecting the new system's needs, or if it is an already existing system, what are the real modification requirements we are collecting. If the information collected is really implemented in the system's development purpose, then the development process will be carried out, otherwise it will be denied to be developed. In preliminary investigation, whatever informations are really can be converted or not can be checked through certain constraints like your technical feasibility, time feasibility, and economic feasibility requirements. Go through the topics in the last video, then you can better understand how you can identify that a particular system is feasible or not. If the system is proved as feasible, then the next process of development starts, that is your requirement analysis and specification. In requirement analysis and specification, the requirements will be perfectly collected and analyzed. For collection, we call it as the gathering purpose, and analysis identifies the real system's needs and remove the inconsistency requirements and makes the system requirements completely identified. When it is gathered and analyzed, then only the requirements can be complete, proper, and really usable by the user for the rest development process. The requirements are gathered by following different methods. For requirements gathering, they can perform the informations to be collected by direct communication with the user, or the information can be collected by reviewing different documents. After the informations are collected and analyzed, the informations are converted into the specification document. The informations are written on the specification document. That is called as software requirement specification document. And whichever informations are contained in the software requirement specification document, those only will be further designed, developed in order to reach at the system's output properly. Got it? So the software requirement specification is the path finder. It is the real implementation need, by following the guideline of which the further developmental activities can be perfectly carried out. And how the software requirement specification document will be well understood? For that, the contents in the document are written by categorizing the data into different types, that is functional requirements, non-functional requirements, and goals of implementation. Got it? When the informations are shown in the form of functional requirements, then the functions of the system can be carried out very well. If the non-functional requirements are specified, then the additional features of the system can be received. If goals of implementations are mentioned, then the future requirements and the real objectives of the system can be identified. Got it? The software requirement specification document is very important. It is a contract between the customer and the developer. What the customer really wants, what the developer is going to develop, can be identified in the SRS document. Got it? So it is very important. And after the SRS document is prepared, the designing process can start. It is the input of the design process. The SRS will be well implemented for preparing a good design, good outline, good architecture of the real system. And the architecture of the real system can be categorized into two types. The system can be either of traditional type or can be of object-oriented type. If the system is of traditional type, then the design process will be different. If it is of object-oriented type, then the design process will be of different type. If it is of traditional type, then the information flow will be sequential, the operations will be function-oriented, and the execution will be performed by performing the structured analysis and design. Got it? After the traditional design is conducted, then it can be further implemented for coding purpose. When the traditional design approach is carried out, the operations are procedural, so data flow oriented technique is used for the designing purposes. Got it? And for preparing the data flow designs, we can follow the structured analysis and design operations. And the structured analysis and design convert the analyzed information to be converted to a proper data flow diagram. The informations analyzed for the designing, the informations analyzed for the designing are represented in data flow diagrams. In case of structured design, the informations present in the data flow diagrams are really converted to the detailed design. By looking at the information present in the detailed design part, the coding can be performed. Got it? Details about these traditional design approach, structured analysis and design we'll discuss in the unit 3. Got it? And object-oriented design is converting the system's requirements into objects, and for making the objects executable, what are the solution domains, problem domains are identified and represented using object-oriented concepts. And here the object-oriented design uses different object-oriented diagrams, and those object-oriented diagrams will be further divide the operations into high-level design and detailed design. Same in the case of your function-oriented approach. In function-oriented approach, we have used data flow diagram and we have used structure diagram in order to represent the data in high-level designing and detailed design. And in object-oriented approach, we will use object-oriented diagrams to represent the information. The details about it we'll discuss in the unit 3. Got it? Then the informations represented in the software design documents, by preparing different software architectures, we can lead to further this software coding part. And the software coding part is going to use different programming languages. Using the appropriate sophisticated programming language as per the user's needs or as per the developer's possibilities. They can develop the code, they can develop the design into the code, and the code will be well implemented for representing the executions of the system. And whatever informations we have identified in the design part will be individually coded in different program modules. Got it? And the software development organizations use their own set of programming standards at some time also for their convenience. Got it? And after the coding is over, the software testing is performed in order to represent the data, it is working properly or not. Got it? The software designing is again a testing. The software testing is again divided into unit testing, integration testing, and system testing. What are the actions of unit testing was through the previous video. And what is the real use of integration testing? We have already discussed what's in the previous video. Got it? And in system testing, we'll really check whether the system is going to be well implemented by the developer or not, and going to satisfy the customer's needs directly or not are represented. Got it? And in system maintenance part, we will think about whether the customer is highly satisfied in order to use the system, and how to use the system properly. When any problem he found at the time of using the system, how you can overcome those problems can be identified in the maintenance part. And in software maintenance operations, you can go for thinking about fixing the errors while it is being used and recovering from the failures like hardware or software failures due to incompatibility problems. Got it? If any future enhancements, modifications or changes are required also, those can be accommodated in the maintenance part. Got it? In maintenance, we can think about discussing about how to use the system properly, how to go through the system needs to be satisfied properly. Got it? And in maintenance part, we can lead to further benefits of future enhancements, in which if your system needs updations, then those updations can be well implemented here. The updations can be performed, executed. Got it? Your system development life cycle is highly usable by the developer to be followed in a proper format and get the highest benefit of developing a system properly. Got it? Go through this revision video, and what is your problems we can discuss in the Google Meet class. Got it? We have discussed about different software development life cycles, and those life cycles we can well implement for following certain procedural actions for developing a system. The life cycle models contains formats how to develop a particular system in a proper manner. Which construction model, which construction system can be implemented for developing a system, we can identify here. And the life cycle models are very, very important to be known.